The ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine has seen many actors involved, from national militaries to guerrilla forces and private military contractors, PMCs. Among these, one name has garnered significant attention: the Wagner Group. Often shrouded in mystery and secrecy, the Wagner Group has played a controversial role in multiple conflicts, including in Ukraine. Known as a shadowy paramilitary organization linked to the Kremlin, Wagner has been central to some of the most brutal episodes of the Ukraine conflict, acting as an extension of Russian influence abroad while maintaining a veneer of plausible deniability for Moscow. In this deep dive, we will explore the role of the Wagner Group in the Ukraine conflict, its origins, operations, and the complex power dynamics surrounding its leadership. We will also investigate the group's founder and leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, whose rise and fall encapsulate the broader story of private military contractors in modern warfare. Part 1. Origins of the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group is not Russia's official military force, but its ties to the Russian government and military make it a key component in Russia's foreign operations. Founded in 2014, Wagner initially surfaced during Russia's annexation of Crimea, and it has since played a crucial role in the Donbas region, where pro-Russian separatists have been engaged in conflict with Ukrainian forces. At its core, Wagner is a private military contractor, or PMC, operating in legal grey zones. While PMCs are typically private entities hired to provide security or combat services, Wagner differs in that it seems to operate almost exclusively for the benefit of Russian state objectives. The group emerged out of the need for a deniable military force that could execute Kremlin directives without Moscow being directly implicated in its actions. This allows Russia to maintain some level of plausible deniability on the international stage, distancing itself from allegations of war crimes or violations of international law. Wagner has a paramilitary structure, composed of former Russian military personnel, special forces operatives, and foreign fighters. It is well equipped, often with weapons and technology sourced directly from the Russian military. The group has become a highly adaptable force, able to wage guerrilla warfare, conduct covert operations, and even bolster more conventional military campaigns. Although the Wagner Group does not have an official leader in the traditional sense, its operations are overseen by Yevgeny Prigozhin, a figure whose influence and background deserve particular attention. Part 2. The Wagner Group's role in Ukraine. The Wagner Group became a crucial player in Ukraine shortly after its formation. In 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea and violence erupted in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, Wagner emerged as one of Russia's key instruments in these hybrid operations. While Russian regular troops were involved, the use of Wagner allowed Moscow to further blur the line between local separatist forces and Russian military intervention. Crimea and early operations in Donbas. Wagner's early operations in Ukraine were characterized by its support of separatist forces in Donbas. Wagner mercenaries provided key strategic advantages, including acting as military advisors and trainers for local separatists, carrying out assassinations of key Ukrainian military leaders, and engaging in direct combat with Ukrainian forces. Wagner fighters became known for their brutal tactics, often using overwhelming force and disregard for collateral damage to achieve their objectives. Their presence in Ukraine is a classic example of Russia's strategy of using hybrid warfare. Wagner played a significant role in creating confusion on the ground and in international diplomatic circles. With Wagner forces wearing unmarked uniforms and lacking direct insignia linking them to the Russian government, Russia could claim that the fighting in eastern Ukraine was a local insurrection rather than a foreign invasion. The 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Wagner's role became even more prominent during Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The group was employed on multiple fronts, often to perform some of the dirtiest and most dangerous tasks, such as leading assaults on fortified Ukrainian positions and conducting operations in urban environments. Wagner's forces were tasked with destabilizing key Ukrainian cities and assisting in operations where Russian regular forces either could not engage or where plausible deniability was essential for Moscow. The group's mercenaries were reportedly deployed in areas like Kyiv, Mariupol, and Donbas, where they engaged in sabotage, urban combat, and assassination missions aimed at decapitating Ukraine's political and military leadership. Some reports suggest that Wagner was involved in attempts to capture or kill Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky early in the invasion, though these claims remain murky and unconfirmed. Wagner also took on a logistics role, securing routes for the supply of weapons and military assets to Russian and separatist forces. This operational flexibility allowed Wagner to become a critical part of Russia's overall military apparatus, operating outside the formal chain of command but contributing directly to Moscow's goals. Part 3. The brutality and war crimes allegations. The Wagner Group's involvement in Ukraine has not been without controversy. From its very inception, the group has been linked to a host of war crimes and atrocities. Wagner fighters are known for their brutality, a trait that aligns with Russia's strategy of instilling fear among its adversaries. Numerous human rights organizations and government agencies have accused the Wagner Group of extrajudicial killings, torture, and other violations of international law. In Ukraine, Wagner mercenaries have been implicated in the killing of civilians, including targeted assassinations of Ukrainian activists, local government officials, and military officers. Reports of massacres and summary executions have emerged from regions where Wagner forces have operated. One of the group's signature tactics is the indiscriminate use of artillery and rocket strikes in civilian areas, a method used to demoralize and terrorize local populations. Wagner forces are also known for their looting of occupied towns and cities, further contributing to the terror experienced by civilians under their control. In addition to these atrocities, Wagner's operational conduct in Ukraine reflects a total disregard for international norms. Their use of chemical agents, torture, and scorched earth tactics has drawn widespread condemnation. Yet, because the group operates outside of official Russian channels, Moscow has largely been able to deflect responsibility for these acts, despite strong evidence of direct support from the Russian government. Part 4. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the man behind Wagner. At the center of the Wagner Group's operations stands Yevgeny Prigozhin, a man often referred to as Putin's chef, due to his business ties to the Kremlin. Prigozhin's journey from businessman to one of Russia's most influential figures in foreign conflicts is a tale of power, influence, and ambition. Prigozhin's early life and business ventures. Yevgeny Prigozhin was born in 1961 in Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg. Like many of the oligarchs who rose to power during Putin's reign, Prigozhin had a modest start. He first made his mark in the food service industry, establishing a catering business that secured lucrative contracts with the Russian government, including for the Kremlin and its military. It was from these contracts that Prigozhin earned his moniker, Putin's chef, a reference to his close relationship with the Russian president. Rise to power and the formation of Wagner. Prigozhin's relationship with the Kremlin allowed him to transition from the food business to other, more politically significant ventures. In 2014, as Russia sought ways to covertly influence the situation in Ukraine, Prigozhin became a key figure in the creation of the Wagner Group. While officially, Prigozhin has denied any direct involvement with Wagner, multiple investigations have shown that he finances the group and serves as its de facto leader. Prigozhin's influence over Wagner has grown over the years, particularly as the group has become more deeply entrenched in conflicts beyond Ukraine, such as Syria, Libya, and Central Africa. Power struggles and the mutiny attempt. In the summer of 2023, Prigozhin made global headlines when he spearheaded what appeared to be an armed mutiny against the Russian military establishment. The conflict stemmed from growing tensions between Prigozhin and the Russian Ministry of Defense, particularly Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, over the conduct of the war in Ukraine and resource allocation to Wagner forces. Prigozhin accused Russia's top military officials of incompetence, particularly in their handling of Wagner operations. This led to an armed uprising, where Wagner forces briefly took control of key Russian military infrastructure in the southern city of Rostov-on-Don and began advancing towards Moscow. However, after mediation by Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, the mutiny was abruptly halted. Prigozhin agreed to stand down, and Wagner forces withdrew. The mutiny exposed deep fissures within Russia's war effort and cast Prigozhin as a maverick who challenged the established order in Moscow. While the exact fallout of the mutiny remains unclear, Prigozhin's public defiance of Putin's inner circle left many questioning the future of Wagner and its leadership. Prigozhin's death. Only months after the failed mutiny, in August 2023, Yevgeny Prigozhin died in a plane crash under suspicious circumstances. The crash, which also killed several other high-ranking Wagner commanders, occurred just 2 months after his challenge to the Russian government. Though investigations into the crash are ongoing, many speculate that Prigozhin's death was an act of retaliation from the Kremlin, signaling the limits of dissent within Putin's regime. Prigozhin's death left the future of the Wagner Group uncertain. Without its charismatic and powerful leader, the group faces questions about its leadership, direction, and continued role in the Ukraine conflict and other global operations. Part 5. The influence of private military contractors in modern warfare. Wagner's involvement in Ukraine and other conflicts raises important questions about the role of private military contractors in modern warfare. Traditionally, wars were fought by national militaries, but the rise of PMCs has blurred the lines between state and non-state actors, introducing new complexities to global conflicts. For Russia, the Wagner Group serves several strategic purposes. Firstly, it allows Moscow to conduct military operations abroad without the direct involvement of Russian troops, providing a layer of plausible deniability. Secondly, it offers a flexible and deniable tool for extending Russian influence into fragile regions, particularly in Africa and the Middle East. However, the reliance on PMCs like Wagner also comes with risks. PMCs operate outside the standard rules of engagement that govern national militaries, often resulting in higher levels of brutality and human rights abuses. This can damage a country's international reputation, as has been the case for Russia in Ukraine. Moreover, PMCs like Wagner can become independent power centers, as evidenced by Prigozhin's attempted mutiny. When private armies gain enough strength, they can challenge the very governments that employ them, creating instability and undermining state authority. Conclusion: Wagner's legacy in Ukraine. The Wagner Group has left a profound mark on the Ukraine conflict. It has been both a tool of Russian foreign policy and a source of controversy, embodying the hybrid nature of modern warfare. With the death of Yevgeny Prigozhin and the uncertain future of the group, it remains to be seen how Wagner will evolve and what its lasting legacy in Ukraine will be. Wagner's story is a reflection of broader trends in global conflict, where state and non-state actors intertwine, and where private military contractors increasingly play pivotal roles. As the Ukraine war continues, the influence of groups like Wagner will be a critical factor in shaping the future of warfare and geopolitics.